Is Node.js about to get eaten by a bun? Not literally, but the JavaScript world has been buzzing about a new runtime called BUN that's gunning for Node.js's crown. BUN promises to do everything Node does. Run your JavaScript on servers, manage packages, serve web requests, but faster and simpler. Some have even dubbed it a potential Node killer. Leaves one to wonder, how true is the hype? I'm Zach, and you're watching Patchnotes. Quick shout out to the team behind the shoot, VideoDeck. They're the folks who wrote, shot, and produced this whole thing. So if your company's trying to explain anything remotely complex or create stunning product demos, hit them up at videodeck.co. Old guard versus new challenger. Let's set the stage. Node.js is the tried and true runtime titan, released in 2009 by Ryan Dahl. It was revolutionary. Node let developers use JavaScript outside the browser on servers to build everything from APIs to CLIs. Node runs on Google's ultra-fast V8 engine, the same engine in Chrome, and over 14 plus years, it's grown a massive ecosystem. Millions of packages on NPM, a huge community, and deployment in countless production systems. It's known for its event-driven, non-blocking architecture, great for handling lots of concurrent requests. It's a battle-tested workhorse. BUN, on the other hand, is the new kid on the block. Fresh out of the oven, literally. The startup behind BUN is literally named Oven. BUN was first released in 2022 by developer Jared Sumner. His goal? Make a drop-in replacement for Node that cuts out all the bloat and speeds everything up. Since Node's launch, layer upon layer of tooling, package managers, bundlers, transpilers, etc. has accumulated, which many devs feel has made the JS backend ecosystem slow and complex. BUN's answer to that is to start from scratch and build a leaner runtime that keeps what's great about Node, like using your favorite libraries while eliminating the slowness. How is BUN different under the hood? First, it's built with a focus on performance. BUN is written in the low-level language Zig, and uses Apple's WebKit JavaScript core engine instead of V8. By writing much of its runtime in optimized native code, BUN runs closer to the metal. In fact, about 84% of BUN's codebase is Zig C++ and only 11% is JavaScript TypeScript, whereas Node's core is largely implemented in JavaScript. The design means BUN can handle many operations at native speed rather than as interpreted JS. BUN also comes all in one. It's not just a runtime, but also includes its own package manager, bundler, and test runner built in. It even has native TypeScript support out of the box. Essentially, BUN's trying to provide a batteries-included high-speed toolkit for JS-TS development. No more juggling NPM versus Yarn versus PNPM or adding Webpack, Jest, etc. BUN brings it all under one roof. BUN's vision quickly attracted attention. It hit 1.0 general availability in September 2023, and developers rushed to benchmark it against Node and other runtimes. It's been branded by some as a potential Node.js killer, but also met with some healthy skepticism. Before we declare a winner, let's dig into the facts: performance, developer experience, ecosystem, and compatibility. Let's start with performance. Benchmarks and real-world speed. Performance is absolutely the front line of the Node versus BUN showdown. BUN's makers tout some eye-popping numbers, and early benchmarks got a lot of people talking. Let's break down the key metrics here. Raw speed. In pure computation-heavy tasks, BUN has shown impressive wins. For example, one test generating and sorting 100,000 numbers had Node's median execution time around 3,400 milliseconds, while BUN did it in only 1,700 milliseconds, roughly twice as fast. This suggests that for CPU-bound workloads, data processing, algorithms, and JS, BUN's optimizations can cut execution time significantly. Web servers and HTTP. BUN made some headlines for its HTTP server performance. It uses an extremely fast C++ library, WebSockets, under the hood for network handling. BUN's built-in web server was reported to handle 377% more requests per second than Node's built-in HTTP module in one benchmark. In practical terms, with the same hardware, BUN could potentially serve 3 to 4 times the traffic of a basic Node server, a huge difference on paper. But here's a fun fact, Node can also achieve similar speeds by using the WebSockets library, but BUN includes it by default, which is one reason for these dramatic results. If raw web throughput is your goal, BUN looks incredibly strong out of the box. Typical app tasks, I/O database calls. Many real-world apps spend a lot of time on I/O, reading files, query databases, etc. In these scenarios, the Node versus BUN gap is much smaller. A benchmark of typical CRUD operations, hitting a database, etc., found Node and BUN almost neck and neck. Node's median response was 22 milliseconds versus BUN's 23. Basically a 4.5% difference. In other words, for common web API tasks, BUN and Node performed about the same. This makes sense. When the bottleneck is a database or network call, the runtime matters less. Startup and serverless. Interestingly enough, Node can actually be faster to start in some cases. In a cold start test, measuring how quickly a hello world serverless function initializes, Node.js had a median startup around 290 milliseconds, while BUN took about 750. That's a pretty substantial delay. Node was ready in less than half the time. In environments like serverless functions where you might be spinning up instances frequently, like AWS Lambda, Node's quicker startup could mean lower latency. BUN has been working on this, but as of those tests, it lagged in cold starts. Memory usage. BUN tends to use a bit more memory than Node for comparable tasks. One test monitoring memory during CRUD ops showed Node using 40 megabytes versus BUN's 70. That higher footprint might be a trade-off for BUN's aggressive optimizations and bundled features. In memory-constrained environments, think tiny containers or lots of concurrent functions, Node's lighter usage could be advantageous. So the raw performance story is nuanced. BUN is clearly faster at some things. It excels in raw compute and has a blazing fast HTTP layer thanks to the native code optimizations. But Node isn't exactly slow. And in fact, Node's V8 engine is incredibly optimized for heavy JavaScript workloads. A deep dive by one developer noted that JavaScript core, BUN's engine, is generally slower than V8 for most JS-heavy code. V8's JIT compiler and optimizations have had years of tuning by Google, whereas JavaScript core, while fast for some things, JSON parsing for example, isn't as advanced in optimizing complex JS logic. This means if your application spends a lot of time executing large amounts of JavaScript, Node might actually outperform BUN in those scenarios. BUN's speedups come largely from doing more work in low-level code instead of in JavaScript. For example, handling file system calls or networking in native code. If your app can offload work to those native parts, BUN flies. But if your code is JS heavy, Node's superior engine can close the gap or even win out. It's also worth noting that performance in real projects often come down to external factors, your database, external API calls, and so on. As one Reddit user dryly observed, for many applications the bottleneck isn't the runtime at all, but the I/O or database latency. So swapping Node for BUN might not magically make your app faster, say if your database queries are the slow part. That said, BUN's potential is exciting. Even the cloud providers are paying attention. An AWS engineer benchmarked BUN in AWS Lambda and found BUN was actually 50% faster in API response times than Node. While Node had fewer cold starts, he speculated BUN has a real chance of overtaking Node as the industry default, and noted AWS Lambda is considering native BUN support. So the speed race is on. And BUN is proving it's not just hype in certain areas. Developer experience and tools. Performance is only half the story. The other half is developer experience, how it feels to build with Node versus BUN. Here the two runtimes take very different approaches. Node.js's approach has been to keep the core runtime focused and minimal, letting the ecosystem provide tools. When you start a new Node project, you have a blank canvas, which is powerful but also daunting. You'll likely pull in dozens of packages. A package manager, NPM comes with Node, but you might use Yarn or PNPM. A bundler or build tool, Webpack, Vite, etc. A transpiler if you use TypeScript, a testing framework, maybe a dev server reloader, and so on. There's enormous flexibility in which tools you choose, but it requires setup. Many developers joke that setting up a modern Node project is half the battle. This pretty much highlights how the Node ecosystem, while powerful, can feel fragmented. You often spend time wrangling config files and integrating tools before you even write your app. Then, on the other hand, you have BUN's batteries included approach. It wants to simplify the whole tool chain by giving developers a one-stop runtime that already has the essentials. Which is why, with BUN, you get a faster bundler and transpiler built-in test runner, a built-in package manager, TypeScript support by default, and various quality of life APIs. The result is that starting a project in BUN can feel refreshingly simple. Fewer decisions to make with less setup. As one Hacker News commenter put it, you replace Node, NPM, TSX, Jest, NodeMon, and SBuild with one single integrated tool that's faster than all the others. For a developer, that consolidation is intriguing. It's like BUN gives you a fully equipped kitchen, whereas Node gives you the ingredients and the instructions and you assemble the kitchen yourself. Another big developer experience factor is cross-platform support. Node runs on pretty much any OS. Linux, Mac OS, Windows, you name it. It's been around long enough to cover all the bases. BUN was initially limited on this front. In its early releases, Windows was not supported natively. You had to use WSL on Windows. This changed recently though. As of BUN v1.1, BUN introduced official Windows support. It now runs on Windows 10 Plus without needing a Linux subsystem. Although the team noted it passes 98% of the Linux/Mac OS test suite on Windows, so a few quirks remain. They're actively working on remaining issues like ARM support on Windows, but the key point is BUN is becoming more accessible to developers on all major platforms, which was a hurdle initially. In day-to-day coding, you'll find that BUN just works with TypeScript and has nice touches like a built-in JSX TSX runtime. Meanwhile, Node has better official debugging support. All major IDEs/debuggers have first-class Node integration, whereas BUN's debugger integration is still catching up. These are the kind of polished differences you'd expect between a 15-year-old platform and a 3-year-old one. Ecosystem and compatibility. For any runtime, it's not just about speed or tooling. It's about the ecosystem, the libraries, frameworks, and community support around it. Node.js, being the old man here, is basically unbeatable. Its package ecosystem, NPM, is enormous, with over 1 million packages. Virtually any functionality you need, someone's likely published an NPM package for it. Node's community is huge and well established. There are endless tutorials, docs, Stack Overflow answers, and experts available. If you run into a problem, odds are someone has seen it before. This extensive ecosystem is one of Node's greatest strengths. It's a mature platform that companies trust for enterprise applications, with a track record of stability and long-term support. BUN's ecosystem is much younger by comparison. However, BUN was smart in that it didn't try to reinvent the wheel entirely. It's largely compatible with Node's package ecosystem. BUN uses the same Node modules resolution algorithm and supports many Node.js core APIs, like the built-in FS, path, buffer, etc. The idea is that you can take an existing Node project, switch to BUN, and most things will work out of the box. In fact, BUN's team ran it against the test suites of many popular Node libraries to ensure compatibility. Frameworks like Express, Koa, and others are supported on BUN. That said, BUN isn't fully 100% compatible with Node.js. Yet. Some popular Node libraries like Fastify and Pinot didn't work on BUN 1.0. Fastify's creator, Matteo Collina, praised BUN's concept, but criticized it for claiming to be a drag-and-drop replacement, noting that many inner details differ. BUN's team focused on speed and modern features first, with backwards compatibility being addressed later. This means if you're using complex or older Node modules, you might encounter issues, though the BUN team is working to improve compatibility. For example, Next.js has issues with Node-specific APIs that BUN hasn't implemented yet. When to use BUN versus Node. So, with all these facts in mind, when does it make sense to use BUN, and when should you stick with Node.js? Here are some considerations for each, speaking developer to developer. BUN might beat Node.js if you need raw speed for specific tasks, you love TypeScript and modern APIs, or you're prototyping or building a new project from scratch. In the end, BUN is faster in specific scenarios. But Node is reliable, stable, and well supported. If you're looking for performance on newer projects or prototypes, BUN might be the way to go. But for mission-critical applications, Node's ecosystem and reliability keep it on top. So there you have it. I'm Zach, this is Patchnotes, and I'll see you in the next one.